the information is in here. I've just taken the information out of here. I've taken it from the National Birds website and I've taken it from the Otago policy. The Otago policy has been reviewed at the moment, so it was 2015, so it's not really okay. Alright. So look out for them to be on the website. So what do we want you to be able to do at the end of it? So basically, wherever you work, whether it's out at Tokanui or on Stewart Island or in Dunedin, ED, so your primary, secondary settings, we want you to be able to push on what we do here today. And I think probably one thing is identify changes to Burns practice, because there probably were a few that had sort of come through, or maybe it was good to kind of refresh my memory when I went over it. So I need to be refreshed, there's probably other people who need to be refreshed about sort of some of the changes. And just to increase your knowledge of current wound dressings. So I don't know about you guys, but no matter how many wounds you get in, we always seem to use a different dressing. There always seems to be a bit of a kerfuffle about what dressing is best to use. And then we have just got some recent policies out as well, which would be good to go over. So we'll just talk about that. So obviously there are some risk factors with wounds. So these are sort of so the risk factors are more likely to lead to a poor outcome. So your age, younger you're old, your burn surface area, so obviously a large burn surface area, or dependent on where the burn surface area is, an inhalational injury. Yeah, inhalational injury tends to give a worse capillary leak, which leads to your SIRS, which is your systemic inflammatory response syndrome, which gives you a poor outcome. Multi-organ failure, and obviously so your vigorous fluid resuscitation, debridement, and appropriate use of antibiotics. Now then, sepsis and hypovolemia are no longer major contributors to death. So history, probably the importance of history taking can't be underestimated. I mean, this might be done initially when the patient comes to you. It might be just taken concurrently as you're assessing the patient, in their house or wherever it is. But there are some probably things related to burns that you're going to want to know. You want to know the mechanism of injury. So just remember, even though they have been burnt, and depending on if they've been involved in a fire or if it's an electrical burn, just remember that another injury could have happened. All right, so they could have had a loss of consciousness, they could have fallen and got a head injury, they could have a broken leg, they could be bleeding internally somewhere because of something. So just remember to look for other parts as well. Also, you're going to want to sort of look at what materials were burnt. Exposure and entrapment. That is pretty much will suggest there's a likelihood of carbon monoxide poisoning. Past medical history, allergies and tetanus status. So they're kind of all the things that you probably just want to
Sorry, you know who's tetanus status for burns? What's the ratio on that?
Well, it's an open wound to a burn. Or we would give tetanus to any patient even though it comes through the main treatment room. We would still check tetanus status as a break to the skin.
Okay.
So, and just remember, it might have happened in a paddock. You don't know where it's happened. Could be animals, tetanus lives in spores. You just want to be checking out.
Oh, well, on the slide before, what did you say about?
So this is it just kind of goes through your ABCs, but the initial exam, identify any airway burns and the presence of other injuries. I mean, most of the time, you'll assess this probably in 5 seconds, and you just take a quick look, get them through, and you can know. Obviously, if there's any sign of any burn to the face at all, you're going to just take a closer look. So you're going to want to check up your nose and check for any singeing, check around their eyebrows and their eyelashes. Often it's not that easy to see, but when you take a closer look, you can see that it's all gone. Check their sputum. If it's black or discoloured at all, then they've probably inhaled something. And your laryngeal edema, so hoarseness, brassy cough, stridor, alert straight away, all right. Potential for airway swelling, airway compromise, probably need early intubation, all right. So circulation, so you're going to want to check, you can do a capillary refill, do it centrally, blood pressure and heart rate. Just remember that your early hemodynamic compromise is really due to the burn injury alone, so that's where you're going back to your history. If they're coming to you acutely burned and their blood pressure and their respiratory rate, their heart rate is low, and you're thinking they might be bleeding somewhere, just remember it's possibly unlikely due to the burn, they might have some other injury, alright? The doctors might be doing a fast scan or something, but just bear that in mind. Your disability, once again, GCS, so just remember that it could be altered because of carbon monoxide poisoning, could be altered due to a fall in the fire or when they were thrown back from the shock, and obviously check your sugar. It's just a basic ED or someone with altered loss of consciousness, but check that. So cooling, in major burns, the period of cooling shouldn't exceed 10 minutes. Now on the national burn site it says 20 minutes, and in the Otago policy it said around 10, so I've just sort of gone with the combination of it, but so you can be guided by 10 to 20 minutes for that. It only takes sort of 30 to 60 seconds of the water to actually dissipate the heat from the burn, so any time after that it's purely actually just being used for analgesic effect. Okay. And it's important not to overcool. So probably a lot of the time patients who arrive in the ED will be hypothermic when they get there because of the amount of cooling that they have had. So when they get to us, you want to make sure that they're kept warm. If their temperature's below 36 degrees, then you want to put in some other form of heating, active heating, whether it be a beer hugger or warmed blankets. Keep the environment warm. The reflective blankets won't be any good, so don't worry about them.
That initial 10 to 20 minutes is reducing the spaces, wound and scarring potential as well. So it's important to get that first. A lot of cooling in there because it prevents further damage, especially of the young ones and the older ones. Because the skin's thinner, so the potential to burn is greater. The scarring would be great if you cool it down. It pretty much stops that from happening.
Yeah. What I'm just saying is here within sort of 30 to 60 seconds you've taken that heat out of the tissue. So there afterwards it's just that pain relief effect. Obviously different with your acid and your alkali burns. The alcohol will need longer, but we'll talk about that coming up. So for those of you who work in the pre-hospital environment, when you're sort of kind of out in the rural setting, sometimes there's an element to what you can do. You're probably just going to be the one who's on with an ambulance driver or anything, but I guess once again go back to your ABC. Just remember as well, spine control goes with your airway. This is going back to TNCC or trauma nursing, but just remember it in there. Cooling, remove any jewellery, be heat conductors. Cover, so anything that's basically clean and dry can be used as a cover. If you've got glad wrap, put that on. Glad wrap is only to be used sort of within the first 8 hours, otherwise you don't use it. Any pain relief will be important, so Internox or IV morphine. And keep the patient warm, give them analgesia. And if your transport time is going to be long, then think about IV fluid. So ongoing management. So you look at your secondary survey, so if you want to turn the patient over, check their back out, go further down. The protocol as well, remove clothing and jewellery, analgesia, tetanus, once again we talked about that. Fluid resus, so we'll be with the crystalline solution for any patient with burns over 20%. And there are formulas, I'll show you the formulas later, but you don't need to stick them in your head. The doctor will be responsible for doing it. An indwelling catheter will be put in to assess for your fluid resus. And your nasogastric will be put in major burns to avoid your gastric dilatation. Just remember that you have gastric stasis when you have a major shock, so everything slows down, so your oral medication or anything given orally won't work. Then you obviously get a build-up, so nasogastric treatment here is good to relieve the tummy of any contents. And just remember, when people are sore as well, they tend to do a lot of air swallowing, so you get a lot of distension from that as well. So nasogastric will help that. And obviously elevate any limb burns and do neurovascular checks, because that'll lead you to that. Right. Remember we had one done in the apartments for a guy who wasn't from a burn, he had a nasty fractured leg out on the track. The other man that came in, his leg was amputated. Brothers. Yes, they were brothers. But like I went for lunch and I'd been gone 10 minutes and his leg was fine, and when I came back they'd done this because he had that, quick. So that's when they cut down the side, open up the tissue. So you had compartment syndrome.
What did you find out about early feeding, NG feeding?
I didn't really look into it, to be honest. It just says here that if they don't have any signs of having any gastric stasis, then it's okay, and they can have sips of fluid. So there's no nausea or vomiting, no distension, then
So
they can.
that book back, then it says in there that they are going towards early parenteral feeding,
Yeah.
slowly, even if they have some stasis.
Yeah.
You know that the nutrition side of it is important,
Yeah.
but it's very closely monitored.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't say I probably just stuck to the more the initial treatment and management, but yeah, good to know. Yeah. And it very clearly said that if there's no signs of gastrostation, then they can eat and drink. That's
I
fine.
had a kid once, it was probably 3 days, and then he went into gastric stasis and he ended up having an NG put in. He had to stitch it to his nose because he had completely burned his face. Yeah. There was nowhere to attach it.
Yeah.
And it was 3 days after the initial burn.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously they'll be implementing it all earlier.
I think probably now he wouldn't have ever stayed here and he would have been ventilated. He would have long after done up.
Yeah.
The only part of him that wasn't burnt was where he had his nappy on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So chemical burns, mentioned this before. So your alkalines can be more serious than your acid burns. Basically because it causes the liquefactive necrosis, so it just burns very deep, whereas your acid just forms like, it burns away the top, and then it forms like a tough scar over top, so the penetration further down sort of stops that burning. So with your alkali, you're going to want to irrigate for a lot longer. So you might have to do it for half an hour to an hour, just whatever it takes. And once again, talking about your eye burns, that they require immediate continuous irrigation. And obviously you can recheck with your strips as well. Once you've sorted this out though, the treatment of this is exactly the same as any thermal burns, so it's just once again, your electrical burns, you want to do an ECG. Most of the time, the documents that I read said that if you've done one ECG and it comes back okay, then probably cardiac-wise you're going to be fine. You don't need to do any repeat ECGs. Probably everything's going to be fine. Check your urine for myoglobinuria, so your rhabdomyolysis, your muscle breakdown leads to kidney damage, so the urine will kind of look that brownish kind of colour, so have a look, send it away for that. Check your limbs for compartment syndrome, and obviously your entry and your exit burns. That was probably important in your secondary survey as well, turning them over, having a good log, just checking everywhere. So this just talks about your skin, because we're just going to go on and talk about how you describe your burns. So you've got your epidermis up here, which basically forms your barrier, your protective layering, and then your dermis is here, and then it's got your sweat structures, it's got your hair follicles, it's got your blood vessels, it's got your pain and your temperature receptors, so there's lots of really important stuff within this dermis layer. So you can see when you're getting down into dermal burns that you're burning a lot of stuff you don't want to. So this is how we classify burns. So we probably may need to see superficial and partial thickness and deep partial. Don't need me to read it out. just there's a high risk of scarring in here because it burns down the adnexal cells, which is all the stuff I talked about before. So that's why there is a greater risk of scarring. So there are a few ways that you can assess burns. And the areas are divided into anatomical regions that represent about 9%. It's a little bit hard to see, but that's 18%, and that's 4.5, so kind of multiples. So you may use this on an adult. You use the London router for children. I've got a picture of it over the back. But it just takes into account the proportional variation, so children have larger heads, so that is taken into account on these. And they have charts for sort of different age groups, just depending on where the developmental stage of the child is. It is the most accurate method of assessment. And you don't include simple erythema, so just that redness, that's not included. And for smaller irregular burns, you can use the palm of the patient's hand, which includes the fingers. Now, we used to be told that the palm of the hand without the finger was 1%. So it's the palm of the hand with the fingers, and that's actually only about 0.7%. So that was sort of a difference that I had noticed that came through from the readings, and it's up to 0.9% in children. So once again, it is just a quick way that you can assess. And so this is just an example. You don't need to, there's all the numbers down there, the percentages, you don't need to memorise it, you don't need to know it, it's just know that if someone says to you about a London route, that's all it is. So analgesia, IV access may not be accessible, so think your intraosseous or your intranasal. And that's where intranasal is really good, especially with kiddies that come in. You can just give them something immediately. IV access, just remember preferably not through burnt skin, but if you have to go through burnt tissue, then you can. Small burns, cool compresses and oral analgesia. Larger burns, you want to use something else. And just cover burns. We know that covering takes away the pain, it sort of covers those nerve endings which are really sensitive with superficial burns, so you can use glad wrap. So ketamine would be a good one here as well, because just remember it gives you that dissociative sedative effect as well, so ketamine would be something to think about. So your fluid resus, there's quite a lot of stuff when I was sort of doing the readings around this, but they're basically saying now use your crystalloids instead of your colloids, and they're pretty much saying for fluid resus, be guided by your patient. So look at their heart rate, look at their blood pressure, look at their urine output, be guided more by that than anything else. Here are the formulas down here that they use. Some of them use 2 mils, some use 4 mils. Everyone was between sort of the National Burns and the Otago policy, they were all different.
Depending on the severity of the burn.
But what you're basically wanting to do is give adequate perfusion without lots of edema inflammation. So just remember within those first few hours you'll have that, you can have that large capillary leak, which can cause that SIRS that we talked about before. So you basically just, it's a fine balance of what you're wanting to do. In regards to urine output, it said that you're basically wanting to have about 30 mils an hour as your ideal. But just remember some of those patients for the first 6 hours, they hold on to the urine, obviously in response to knowing they need to have that fluid, so they will hold on to it. So once again, just be guided by the fact that if their blood pressure and heart rate are okay and they're looking okay, and the urine output might only be 10, then just remember the doctor says, no, I'm okay, but that's possibly okay. They'll probably start to reduce urine when the body says it's okay, and it'll be probably around that sort of 6 hour mark. So, dressings in children. The Southland DHB now have a new policy for burns in children. I think it's basically sort of been guided by what plastics in Dunedin want. There's also been a big research paper that was done in 2013 in Australia, and it involved about, it was like 96 children or something. And they used Acticoat, and they use Acticoat combined with Mepitil. And then they have, then they use Feplex AG, and so the Metalex AG came out on top. It was 40% quicker healing time, there was less scarring, the actual ease of removal was a lot better. So this is where we're now going. Just in our ED, we've just had some education rolled out, and that this is what we're doing. They have put out they've put out this, so that's your guideline now. And have you guys seen Metalex before? I'll pass it around. So basically it just sort of sits on. You need to have about, you can cut it to shape. You need to have about 2 centimetres overlap of the burn. Don't secure it with Tegaderm, so secure it with like a co-bandage or just sort of flick some oil around the edges. And just remember to tell the parents, the kids, that it's not to be submerged in water, so it's okay that like splashes would get on it, but it's not to be fully wet. Alright, let's have a wee. Right, yeah, there's definitely has been some good results, so that sort of, it does seem to be the way we're going. And that is, we've had meetings with the paediatric outreach team as well, and that's what they're going to be using. Sheree was at it the other day, so.
There's no Amazon now.
No, moved away from SSD. Yeah, haven't been using that for a long time. Yeah, I probably a couple of years ago went away from using it. I would have put it on before we had something like this. I would have put it on if the burn looked infected, but I wouldn't put it on an acute burn that doesn't look infected.
Yeah.
I would just leave it.
Some of us in rural areas need to use what we've got available.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
We've ordered some stuff at home, but
yeah. I mean, maybe you should talk to your. I mean, this is not expensive.
yeah.
This is $40, $14 compared to your Acticoat is like $40. So, while someone might think it's expensive, it's not expensive if it heals your burn, and it's a reduction in healing time and heals it quicker. They don't need to come back for repeated visits. So maybe talk to like Karen about getting.
Yeah, we've got some coming.
Fabulous, yeah. So I mean, yeah. So then, if you've got that, I wouldn't use CSD. Yeah, and definitely not on a face. Face is olive oil and just all petroleum jelly, anything to keep it moisturised. Need lots of it and frequently.
Brian had it where Kelly had fallen onto a fire the other day from Monday. Yeah, and he burnt his hand, and I saw him the next day.
Yeah.
And Ronnie couldn't believe the change in the hand in 24 hours.
Was it?
Yeah.
We went through Christchurch, Baron, we did that one, and they said she was Metalex, which was in Sue's office, I think.
Is that what it is? So it's not
It's
in
no,
like-
it's out back.
And if you take it throw it down though.
No, it's out back.
It doesn't stick, it doesn't stick, so she's
We stick it on here.
And so like you can cut it.
tape.
So
It's
you,
amazing. It was a whole hand, so I cut.
Yeah.
And you can make it colour into slides everywhere.
yeah.
That was the main thing that we already saying, 3 lots of vegetable used, like Lauren knows everything, think of my own thing that works, but couldn't get that useful space.
Yeah.
So now it just Sue's office.
No, it is in the house.
Is that what it's for? It is for it.
Yeah. Yeah, Sandy put it the other
They
day.
initially said it's not recommended for adults, but the lady who talked to us said that she would use it.
It's just the study wasn't done in adults. It's the same thing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
There's just different sizes. So there's like big ones as well. Like we had a kid come in the other day, like they were probably, I don't know, 1.5, and they had them over the torso and down the back. We just put them on. Yeah. So it can go over a blister, or you can debride the blister and put it over top of that. They can last like 5 to 7 days. Just remember that if there's lots of extra data, it will need to be changed sooner. And it's absolutely okay, because often like our policy is with sort of a burn that you're concerned about, if it was in children, you would get that to the paediatric outreach. So they can just peel it back, have a look, check the burn, and then put it back down as well. So it's good stuff, and it's what Denise are using as well. And just like the Acticoat stings, like the other day we didn't have any of that because we were just getting our stocks, and like for a wee kitty I had to put on the Acticoat because it looked infected, it needed some silver, but that's all I found. And I mean the Acticoat needs to be wet daily with water, not the stay line because that reactivates the silver. So just remember, like, I mean, you know, if you're putting on your Acticoat, it's quite time consuming, I guess, and the person has to get it because this is easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's less expensive and it's not painful when you put it on. The Acticoat was definitely painful when I put it on this kid, she cried straight away. And I was like, oh, I wish we had some of that. You know, especially when you know you've got some stuff.
The next day, put on.
Yeah. So we'll talk about blisters. I think Olivia's going to talk about blisters tomorrow because there seems to be lots of discussion about whether you debride or not to debride. So I think all blisters need to be debrided within 48 hours. I think Olivia has got information from Mandy Pagan, who was Southland's wound care specialist, that says all blisters need to be debrided. However, I have kind of been guided by the Otago policy and by the National Burn Centre, which has said within 48 hours. So I guess if you're happily initially, I would probably just go back to clinical judgment. If you've got a blister and it's not large, you don't think you need to assess what's underneath there, and it's not over a joint, then you could possibly just leave it. Refer them to the paediatric outreach team. They are happy that you debride it, or they are happy that they debride it the next day. And just remember, like, you know, there may be a more appropriate place to do debriding than in the ED. You know, they have all the gear, they have nurses, they have probably the pain relief in a nice environment, so that might be the better option, and that's absolutely fine. If it is on over a joint, then you are going to want to debride. If they're broken, so you know how you kind of get the one sort of popped and they've still got that bit, then you can debride that bit off as well. Does that sort of make it a bit clearer? I think really sort of go and get kind of conflicting information.
Clip it, just drain it, but leave the
Yes,
cover.
yes, so just split it and leave it down.
And then put
Yeah, put that on over the top. Yeah, but then I think when like the men's seen it the next day, they would take that. Yeah, I saw someone recently who'd been, and this was interesting because I saw them through the plastics. They come from plastics in Christchurch and they were down here on holiday, and they had actually left their blisters intact, but they were days old and they just basically formed that gel-like substance, and I had to debride it because there was no hair underneath, so it was interesting that's what they were doing. So once again,
That's the bottom line, isn't it? That skin's holding up here, so.
Yeah, I think that's why I think use clinical judgment. If it looks like it's going to be absolutely fine and there's no harm done, then leave it.
Infection control, so just waiting out what they're doing, where they're working, how many
Yeah.
to be looked after, and how.
Yeah. Lots of things to think about. I think that's just why you use your clinical judgment at the time. But just remember, probably within 48 hours, yeah, I want it right. And so it's sort of talking about, I guess here, if the child is going to be transferred out, then I think the easiest thing is just talk to the team about taking them, because remember there's possibly no point putting on more expensive dressings like the Nepilex if they're just going to be flown to Christchurch or flown to Auckland and have them removed straight away. Do you know what I mean? So they can assess. So just, if that's going to happen, but if they're not being transferred out straight away, then put the silver on. Does that make sense? I mean, otherwise Cutiserum and Genji would be absolutely fine. So just a little bit of kind of common sense around dressings and...
What is there silver on that?
Yeah.
But it only leaches out if it's required, otherwise it'll stay inside the dressing.
Could be used on faces.
No, I wouldn't use them on faces. Studies weren't done on
No,
faces.
because the silver
That's why I asked the question, because
Yes,
it's like
so I guess no one's willing to have their children tried on faces, so the study was not done on
The last
faces.
one I had face week, it was liquid paraffin, Christchurch Hospital.
Yeah,
And
so
it's
olive oil or paraffin.
Yeah.
The study was done on, I think it was burns of less than 10%, and they weren't full thickness. So it was just sort of done on your more moderate burns, and yeah, it wasn't on the
So that
face.
other stuff we used to use, you know, that comes in gloves. And
Yeah, the issue dry or something.
yeah, we don't use that.
Don't seem to have that no. But I mean, put that on. You can cut a hole, put it through your finger.
I'm really thinking about larger birds.
So personally, I would be still using that. And you've got larger sizes. We have got the larger size in there. Yeah. I mean, obviously, full surface, you're probably just going to go cutis here and they're going to be transferred out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like anything that's a really large wound will go. So, and if that's the case, you're probably just going to want to put something simple on to keep it covered, keep it clean, keep it dry until someone else assesses them. So dressing in adults, so once again we're talking about hemiplex, your Acticoat. Now I've got some zero form because this, is this what we had to put on?
Yes.
Yes. So we had a kitty the other day, how old were they?
Oh, he's only 2 or 3.
Yeah, and he grabbed a pot of boiling water off the stove and basically poured it all over him. So he had some nasty burns. So we put cling film around it, I'm sure you were here as well. But this is what they asked for, and this is apparently what Dunedin uses as well. I'd never seen of it, I'd never heard of it. It's mildly medicated to prevent infection. It's got petroleum in it, pass around, open it up.
It's like a fake serum.
Yeah, to me it just looked like a dactic, but it's medicated.
Yeah.
Where did you get that from?
We've now got it. It is stocked. It's just side. Yeah, you can open it.
I don't think we had it at the time, but it was.
No, we didn't. We had to get it from somewhere. So, yeah, I can't remember children's life had rolls of it.
We were going to put control in it.
That's not a new thing, is it?
I don't think so. I think it was just a different dressing that we didn't have. So, I don't know. I guess it's just it's something that it's the same old, isn't it? Every time you get a bird, they seem to want it.
So when you say
You want to be careful.
Well, it's till you it wasn't small So once again, talking about the face, olive oil and then blisters, debride after 48 hours. So these are some of the things to consider. So nutrition, and that's what Sheree was talking about before, probably early intervention with food, fluid. So essential for wound healing. We know that good diet helps all this. This is more longer term stuff. Obviously smoking. Good time to put in your smoking cessation advice. Burns to the flexor surfaces because that has the ability to disrupt function. So a good one was Sheena sent one in, it was a while ago, wasn't it Sheena, but from...
that girl?
Yeah, she was probably 11. She had a burn to the anterior and dorsal part of her foot and ankle. And Sheena saw her probably about 10 days, was it? Sent her because she had concerns that she had less function of her ankle, and so I saw her as CNS, and we basically referred her to physio, who were going to do a weekly assessment to make sure that everything was okay, and then they would have access to the required treatment if need be, but just really important. And it was interesting because we couldn't get her into paediatric outreach, and I mentioned this to them the other day in the meeting, and she looked really surprised, but I said I tried, and she tried, and we couldn't get her into our paediatric outreach.
Why was it?
Because they said they needed a consultant.
Yeah,
So they wouldn't.
There's also another arm to that, and that was the trickiness of the family situation.
Yes. Yes.
And the mum.
Yes.
It's a bit destructive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Which, yeah.
But I guess it's just like it was, you know, it was fabulous watching it out. I guess that's experience, isn't it? Being able to look at something 10 days down the track and go, and it being the next day and just, oh, actually, I'm not quite sure about this. I think something's wrong. I think someone needs to have a look at it. The function's been limited. And she came to hospital, and I mean, she got a lot of services put in place. And, you know, she sort of came in, she was barefoot. Sheena only just dressed it, the dressing was pretty much off. She say there's lots of other things going on with there. So, did you see her back?
Oh, we haven't, but I didn't.
No, I didn't see that.
So that's where you sort of talk about physiotherapy, because I ran into the head of the physio. Sorry, the Labrador with the...
Recently there was somebody in the branch, I just remembered now that I've seen that stuff.
that I had to put heaps and heaps and heaps of that on the red raw areas. And then I sent home because there was no beds. And but he was leaking everywhere, you know, like it was just, his bones were just leaking and leaking and leaking.
Yeah.
And you weren't there for me to ask him what to do. And he was going home, he'd been under the care of district nurses, he was going to his mum's out to a chat group or something. So we got some of that from burns, from outpatients, and they gave us enough to put over just the real raw areas. And the rest we just had to do ketoserum and lots of EMG and bind them up.
So you could maybe probably put like the MOV008, which is a bit more absorbent. We've got that in the department. So I would probably put that on over top of that as well. Or just
So we used to use the Lexi drive for those as well.
we've got we don't seem to have that as a real. We've got the media one in the department, which will be a little bit more absorbent than
What should I put on?
I probably would have maybe put MOV008 over top of those dressings as
The
well.
blue stuff?
Yeah.
I did.
That's sweet.
I did. But he was chemical burns and he was, it was just, he was
Was
poor.
there any reason why he couldn't change his own dressing? Or something
He was hardly mobile, I think.
He could hardly move.
that was a meal that could help change the dressing, but once it gets solid, that could change it.
Well, I think it was probably his mother, but they just, like, they couldn't keep up with it. It was just boring.
I mean, if that's the case, distributors will have to go on twice a day. I mean,
They thought, what they said, what the instructions from plastics were, that if we put that on, you don't need to be dressed every second day, as opposed to...
But if it's fully exudating and they're getting soppy, then you're going to have to change it. So obviously consider scar management. So your best things to prevent or to help with scar management are early skin cover, so look out for them in the sun, avoid infection, and press your dressings as well as the right dressing at the time. So you might talk about considering transfer out, especially for us, you know, we don't have a burn centre down here, we're a smaller area, so partial thickness burns over 20% in all age groups and over 10% in the under 10s and over 50s. Full thickness burns over 5%. These burns here that involve any major joints or any part of your groin, joints, face. Inhalational burns once again, because remember they have that big risk of having a capillary leak, which will lead to your SIRS. Electrical burns, and then burns associated with other significant injuries. So remember going back to your history as well, just remember they might have a burn, but they might also have an internal bleed, or they might have a head injury. And then smaller burns in patients with comorbidities. So I guess your diabetics, the tricky ones. So take home points for today, your fluid resus, your control sepsis, early excision and skin substitutes have made for better prognosis for severe burns. Signs of laryngeal edema, so your brassy cough, your hoarseness, your stridor, prompt intubation. Your burn resus formulas are considered a guide only, so they are there to guide you, but also to remember look at your clinical indicators, your urine output, your heart rate, your perfusion. Resus with colloid versus your crystalloids does not improve survival, and extensive or complicated burns should be managed in a specialised burn unit. And then we talked about this as well, your chemical burns after being treated are treated in a similar fashion to thermal burns. Alright.
The biggest thing that Jennifer Rosner said is that going through the regional burns unit has been a hassle with the backwards and forwards. When we up to that burns conference last year, they said just go national.
Yep.
Just go national, they'll organise everything and transfer it from there.
Yep.
Just get that paperwork done.
There's very clear guidelines on the National Burns website about who takes what, about the process. So I mean, just Google it. It's a fabulous website and has everything there. So if you get a burn, and probably particularly if you may be coordinating and you're wanting to kind of alleviate some of who do you go to, then just go and have a look at that website. It tells you everything for the whole country.
The biggest issue they tend to have is that they really like photos and then there's a privacy thing about it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, just do it.
Yeah.
Just take the
Was
photos.
it the other day when I was being asked mother and then you said mother's phone to take the photos to send it?
Yeah.
Is she a lot of other
Because that way it's
I mean, there's ways around it, and they need to know what they're looking at. And
And then the answers from the consultant.
Just remember during the day that there is a hospital photographer, and I'm sure Dunedin will have the same as well, so there is someone that you can ring that will come and do it. I mean, it probably takes time. In the hospital, apparently we do.
That's only working hours.
Yeah,
Only some
yeah,
days.
and I mean, we all know most of us will never come in at working hours, but just remember if it is working hours then, because we have had them down in the past.
Because it used to be Joan upstairs and she's not in the featuring, but she's
Yeah.
Julie Chris used her iPhone the other day, but she asked for permission, and then she told the family she would make the photos straight away and explain the purpose.
Yeah, it's good because most people have those phones, but I see patients.
Because it's an amazing use for phones.
I mean, that's the privacy thing, is that if the family, I mean, the photos.
Is that paperwork they need, they think like there's a sheet down there about, like, folder, is it being updated?
Yeah, because on the top of it says to remove.
Actually, I had a facial proof.
Sorry,
So
so
Lori
it's
Light
a-
and it was to
Yeah.
readable for faces.
Yeah.
But the rest was Christchurch.
Three before I went away.
So that national bird feature, is that got a like number or something?
I can't remember, to be honest, so I just, I've got it here. Told you all about it, assessment. Oh no, that's had some really good stuff on there that kind of spelled it out for you and.
Okay.
So it was natural presentation science.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
On
On
call.
call. Coordinator.
There's always someone on call, there's always something on call. And that's all you do. That's all you should do. Because I think last year, Jim, the problem was, there must have been a lot of booms that they did the job. Probably moving out. That's something that we hold on, should be listening as well. And she just got it reports through regional, but we're not sure, because I think Dunedin just started to request it was 4 months a year. And the company, they wanted to talk to her as someone else, and she takes some of the biggest schools from us, and she's just gone out to do the theory, and so it's straight to the national. Where it's around, that's what I do.
Yeah, I just wanted to do that, that's my understanding.
9 cents, because you just, you see, just.
So it's all right, going to specialise you with a certain friendship. And I mean, it may not necessarily be our job, you know, the patient may go on to the work to children's, like that wee boy that we had, I mean, he went to children's and he was transferred out from, yeah, 24 hours, but, you know, he didn't go immediately from us. And they discussed them, you know, obviously the Burns team were happy that that's what we need, so.
I think photos of them take really good sort of indicator.
What's that?
I know that photos always take. They're not. Some of them they're not ideal. Well, you can't tell very much.
Then I suppose technology's developing.
Yeah.
That's getting better and better.
Oh, that's it anyway, you can have your lunch now. We're going to do.
Oh, thank